Welcome to Cate's Hour of Miracles, where I get to share just from A Course in Miracles or from spiritual teachings, spiritual words, and the impact of those words and the impact of those teachings is an experience. We get a shift of perception, we get an experience, and we start to feel more joy and more love and more opening, more softening. These are the experiences we get. We start to feel this expanded consciousness, expanded awareness in the absolute. And the absolute is what they call non-dual, which is not two, one. Course talks about oneness all the way through. And oneness will never be seen with our eyes or never be heard with our ears. It can only be experienced. It can only be an experience in our mind. We can only ever have that experience. It's the course calls heaven the awareness of perfect oneness. Once I read that, I understood what the goal of the course was. It says the goal of the Course in Miracles is peace, the peace of God, or the peace that passeth understanding. That's our goal, which you would say would be heaven. And what's really beautiful is heaven is not outside us. It's not somewhere that we're going to go when this body passes away. Heaven and hell are states of mind. They're not anywhere else. They're right here. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is within you, or something along those lines. I've probably got that quote wrong. I get a lot of quotes wrong. I've never been really good at quoting the Course, but I generally will give a bit of a talk, a bit of a knowing about it. Is that heaven is within. He said it's not anywhere else. It's within you. So right here, right now, you have the awareness of perfect oneness. Oh, Glenn's just saying he just read that. So, sorry, I only came on a few minutes before you finished, Glenn, but I always love listening to you and Yolanda. So if you're watching this on my YouTube and you'd like to listen to some fantastic speakers, Reverend Glenn and Reverend Yolanda are on at 5 p.m. on Awakening Together. I can't really promote anyone else on that because I don't really listen in. I'm really busy these days, but I can vouch for these two. They're a lot of fun and it's beautiful. It just made my heart go all sparkly and my eyes get tears in them when I just feel this overwhelming love for everyone. But when you hear others just giving this love, giving this wisdom out. So I can get, and Yolanda has music which I'm going to look up. I've looked it up before. I'm going to go back there and use some of her music for some dancing. I just had that idea as I was listening to the end of Glenn's and Yolanda's hour to just recently started up on Tuesdays here in Melbourne, Australia, Tuesdays at Cate's. And it's just given over to the Holy Spirit to do something at our house. And I just felt this urge to put some music on and for us to dance. So I'm going to look some of your music up and do some dancing around, because we have to realise that we're already in the kingdom of heaven. There's nowhere else to go. It's not in the future, it's right now. And actually that's what my talk today is going to be about. It's going to be about time, and that the only time is now. There's no other time except now. You cannot be out of the now. It's always now, and you're only ever in the now. So we're going to go over that a few times, because that's such an important experience. It's not something that you're going to understand intellectually. You're going to have an experience of this holy instant. Jesus calls the now the holy instant, which is this instant, and it's always this instant. And so we come to see that in this instant we have everything, and this is where everything is. This is where God is. This is where the Holy Spirit is. This is where Jesus is. These different aspects of the one helper, the one guide, that we can use these different aspects for shifting our mind, shifting our split mind. So we've got a split. We don't even know we've got a split. We're even unaware that there's another mind that we can use to experience the world from. So let me just first of all let's go and invite the Holy Spirit in. Holy Spirit's always with us. But let's just consciously, I like to do this because it's a really good reminder for anyone watching my videos to get into the habit, get into, be it a normal thing to do, to stop and invite the Holy Spirit, and to listen to how I do it, listen to how other teachers do it, listen and feel into your way. You'll have your way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way, but it's really helpful to hear the prayers. So Holy Spirit, you be in charge. You be my words, you be my thoughts. You direct my mind today and every day. You be the love that comes through this body. You be the loving words, the loving thoughts that come before the words. I surrender my mind to you. I surrender any other thoughts in my mind, I surrender them. So I'm just going to give you a little something that you can do. This is just one thing that I do in a process. I'm just going to go through it very quickly. This is a process that I've used for years and years. So whenever you have an upset, just close your eyes and look at that upset. Just not look at it to get upset, but just say, what is this? So you might be saying, I'm angry, or I'm annoyed, or I'm resentful towards someone. Just sort of label it very quickly. Notice that you're upset. And then put it, so imagine you in a closet, opening the closet door, and remember, I always think of the movies where there's a closet and there's a shelf up high in the closet. And you open that closet up and there's a shelf there, and you put that grievance or that resentment or irritation on that shelf. You put it, you just mentally put it there, and you sort of push it up there. So we're going to close our eyes, we're going to push it up onto that shelf. And we've got no ladder, we've got no step ladder to get up and get it down. And we say, Holy Spirit, you have this. You have this grievance, you have this resentment. I give it to you now. I do not want it back. So you push it up onto that shelf. So you've sort of pushed it up there in your mind, pushed it onto the shelf. Then you step outside the closet, you close the door. And when you've closed the door, you say, Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Above all else, I want to see this differently. So that's a little prayer, a little very, very quick thing that you can do when you have an upset. And that has been my process for maybe 5 or 6 years. Every single time I have an upset, that's it. Now, you have to do that process with a complete willingness that you do not want it back, and you give it over. So whatever process works for you, but that's been mine. It's been a giving it, putting it up, putting it somewhere where I can't get it back. I don't want to think about it. I don't want it back. Why would I want it back? It's making me feel upset. So the prayer helped me see this differently. Above all else, I want to see this differently is an important second step. Some people just say, I handed it over to the Holy Spirit. That won't work. You have to ask to see it differently so the miracle can come into your mind. So the Holy Spirit, you've asked the Holy Spirit to give you a different perspective. And then you just wait. Just wait for it. It'll come in. It might take a day, it might take a week, depending on I don't know. It just depends. I know in my early days, it could take a week. Then it just started to come in with very quickly, and then now it's instant. And as our minds get clearer and clearer, there's very little to put on that shelf, in that closet. That it's really important to come with this deep, deep willingness to have everything corrected. So this process is the atonement, this little closet process. It's the atonement because I'm willing. I want to give it over, and I want a different way of seeing this. Help me see this differently. And then we try to quieten our mind. And it comes in. Something will come in from the course. Some different. We might be given a little. The answer from the Holy Spirit might be something that you need to do. So for example, with my partner, if I get a little trigger, that's the process I do. And then straight away I'll get, sometimes, but not every time, that's pretty much it happens straight away, that's what I'm saying. But the answer can always be something different to do. Sometimes the answer is, I need you to be more quiet with him and listen more. He needs to be listened to. Sometimes the answer will be to show a little bit more affection. Sometimes the answer will be, just the answer comes, it will be do something with him, plan an outing just with you and him. There'll always be the right answer that comes in, and it'll be exactly what he needs, because the Holy Spirit is in charge of awakening every mind. He's in our minds, and he's awakening my mind. You could say that awakening is it's like the awakening that I had. It's not a one-time event. It's a continuous deepening. It doesn't end. It's a maturing and a deepening. So our partners are going to be our biggest triggers, I guess. That's what he's got a lot of, Jesus has a lot of teachings around our special relationships. And the one thing about giving your mind over to the Holy Spirit to direct, consciously every morning when you wake up, put the Holy Spirit in charge every day. Excuse me. Is the Holy Spirit can be like a GPS. When you get in your car and you're following your GPS to get to a place that you don't know, you're trusting in that voice on the GPS to get you there. And sometimes you can think, oh, I don't think I'm meant to turn down this road, or I think this GPS is taking me the long way. The Holy Spirit's a little bit like that. You can listen to the directions all day long. The Holy Spirit is the GPS in our minds. So the minute you wake up in the morning to the time you go to sleep at night, you can listen. Every single thing you think will be from the Holy Spirit. You can live this way, the mind that just guides you, just tells you what to do, when to do it, when to meditate. He can remind you of all your appointments, so you don't have to plan. So this is the way you can live your life in freedom. You don't have to worry about what to do. Every single need that you have is provided for. You don't have to worry about securing your future. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat next week or where you're going to live next week. You just need to give everything over. As we give ourselves over to the Holy Spirit's plan, we let this body be used as a love communication. And so it's like a pencil. It's used to write words of wisdom. The pencil is the communication tool. So this tool, not only can it speak wisdom and words of love, it can also hug and kiss and make cups of tea and coffee. It can sit, it can listen. It will be completely guided as to what to do in that moment for whoever needs it. So we don't have to choose what to say. And sometimes I think speaking's overrated in a way, because a lot of the time the silence and just the loving gaze is enough. And just this beautiful, just this love in the silence. So you'll find that you'll probably enjoy the silence a lot more when you're on this path. It's just beautiful. And yes, sometimes as soon as you speak, you're in duality. But it can be used for helping yourself and other minds awaken. So today I was going to talk about time and the use of time, and I prefaced it before about this now. Now we all hear about spiritual teachers talking about now, but I'll just give you a quick overview of my experience. And I've shared about this before, but I'll go through it quickly. Is I had no idea what the now was. I thought it was each second of a clock, you know, the second hand, it ticks from one second to another, and I thought each second as the clock ticked was the now. I was still thinking that the now was a part of time. So I was breaking it down in my mind, trying to intellectually understand what the now was. And that's the closest I could get to intellectually understanding it. So I'd look at the clock and go, okay, so I have 60 nows in a minute. But that's not it. When one day I just asked the Holy Spirit, I said, look, help me understand what this holy instant is. Help me understand what this now is. And I think it was a day or two later, I was out walking my dog and I had an experience of it and I got it. So it was an aha moment. Now I can't tell you about it because I experienced it, but it's very different to an intellectual understanding of what the now is. And it's an understanding that it's always now. And if you can see, if you can really sit, if you haven't had the experience of what the now is, or the holy instant is, you can just sit and see that you're always in the now. Look around you now and see that you cannot get out of the now. Look around you, you're always here, you're always present. There's something that is continuous as the now. So you can see that there's a excuse me, there's an awareness or there's a presence. Look, just sit and look at what's around you right now and notice that what you're noticing seems to be in time, but I'm going to get you to look in a different way. I want you to notice that you can never be out of this moment, that this awareness of this moment as it is right now is always there. It's always this moment. You can't be out of it. You can never, ever, ever be out of this moment. And look, you'll see. And there's something about this particular moment, this now, that is continuous. There's something, there's an essence of it. And once you get that, once you feel into that experience, oh my God, it's always now. Your mind has shifted into the eternal now, because this essence, this particular experience of the now is always there. And Jesus calls it the eternal now, the eternal present. And the reason why we can go through this particular lifespan, this incarnation, without understanding this or having the experience is because we miss it, because it's full of the past. Jesus says we are only ever seeing the past. So we literally are never, ever, ever in the present, in this holy instant. We're never in it. We can spend all this time in time never actually being in the present. So we miss the holy instant. We miss the kingdom of heaven. And it's this simple. The kingdom of heaven is in the now. It's not in the past. So as we when we move out, when our mind is moved into this holy instant, into the now, it moves away from future and past. So I'm going to be going through this in where Jesus explains it in the course to highlight it. I could not improve on Jesus's words. There's no way. I read his words in the course and it makes my heart sing. So, so beautiful, these words. And this is what these words are meant to do. They're meant to bring us an experience. They're meant to bring this holographic teaching to life. This mind of God is holographic. It's not bound by time and space, and these small egoic thoughts are, that we're separate. These egoic thoughts can be completely erased. They can, as we keep forgiving, and it takes as long as it takes. And I showed you a process, but use your process. If your process is working, do keep doing that. If you're finding that you don't know how to forgive, you can give my process a go. But trust in your own. If it's working, don't change. We all go home to the same place. And going home is going to this heaven, this holy instant. And the holy instant is not just one instant. It's this moment, this present moment. But what's going to happen is you're going to see it very, very differently. And when you get that, it's going to expand your mind. So I want you to, for this hour that we're together, this is the particular teaching that I'd like you to just try to focus on, drop all other teachings from the course. This is a part that we need to get. We need to be able to allow our minds to pierce in to the present, to the now. We need it to have that illumination, to have something come in where we see this moment as an experience. And it's going to be free of past and future, because there's something that's continuous and it's always there, and we miss it. We're always missing it when we're in our ego, and we haven't got no idea that it's here. And this is what I mean about the mind of God is in our minds, but we're totally unaware of it. And it's our true nature. So as when we think with the ego, we're thinking with a completely false thought system. It's completely false. Every thought of the ego is completely false. Its thought system is based on guilt and fear and judgment and blame, condemnation. So this part of the course's teachings is really beautiful. So let's go there. Let's ask Jesus to bring his words to help us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from chapter 13, section 4, the function of time. And I'm going to go to, and I'm reading out of the Circle of Atonement. So I'm not sure if it's different from the FIP version, but excuse me. And so I'm going to paragraph 4. The ego has a very strange notion of time. And it is with this notion that the questioning might well begin. The ego invests heavily in the past and in the end believes that the past is the only aspect of time that is meaningful. You will remember that we said its emphasis on guilt enables it to ensure its continuity by making the future like the past and thus avoiding the present. By the notion of paying for the past in the future, the past becomes the determiner of the future, making them continuous without an intervening present. For the ego uses the present only as a brief transition to the future, in which it brings the past to the future by interpreting the present in past terms. So that's sort of, he's going into a lot of detail, because what he's saying is that the ego uses the present, which is where the kingdom of heaven is, which is where your awakened mind is right now. It can't have an experience of being awake if it's got the past in it. And the reason why we work on giving our resentments and our upsets to the Holy Spirit is because that's the past. And when it gets corrected in our minds with the truth, it allows less and less past to come in to cloud this present moment. When I say moment, I'm always talking about an experience of the present, the holy instant, as it is, as it really is, which we miss. And this is the thing, is if you've never had an experience of the holy instant, you might have had a glimpse, you can really understand that you can live in that glimpse. If you've had a glimpse of this love, of this purity, of this clear joy, of this clear seeing, where the real world is, where heaven is, if you've had even a second of that, I'm telling you, you can live in that. You will spend all eternity in that. We're going to get back to that. This is what the teachings are pointing to, is because that's where the peace is. The peace is without the past. And the only reason we could worry about the future is if we're using the past as our, we're going into the past in our mind and projecting that into the future. Now has no meaning to the ego. So in other words, the ego is not interested in the present, where everything is clear and beautiful and bright. The present merely reminds it of past hurts. You see, this is what happens when we're in our ego. All we do is worry about past hurts, and it reacts to the present as if it were the past. For the ego cannot tolerate release from the past, and though it is no more, it tries to preserve its image by responding as if it was present. So what happens if something happened in the past? We remember it now. We remember it as if it's happening. And we will have all those emotions. We will sometimes, you know, when you remember the past, you might cry. If something happened, you remember it. The only way you can be upset by something from the past is if you remember it. So the ego brings it in to our mind and says, this was terrible, this happened to me, and I'm upset. Now, if you lost your memory right at this moment, your whole memory of anything that ever happened to you was completely erased, you couldn't be upset by it because you couldn't remember it. So we have to use this, what I just said, this teaching, that I can only be upset now by remembering something in the past. Thus it dictates reactions to those you meet now from a past reference point, obscuring their present reality. This is a fantastic line. Thus it dictates reactions to those you meet now. Right, so anyone I meet today, it's going to dictate from the past reference point. Now you can really start to get awareness of how you're reacting from the past. You might see someone that looks like someone from the past, gives an expression, the way they speak. There'll be something in your role. Oh no, I don't like this person because blah, blah, blah. Now that you start to notice, oh my God, that's my past. That happened to me in the past and I was upset. I cannot see my brother, and he says, obscuring their present reality. Well, what do we think their reality is? What's the reality of my brother? What's he say all the way through the course about the reality of my brother? His perfection, his sinlessness, his guiltlessness, his wholeness, his oneness with me. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I should be present with. But no, what's happening is the ego is bringing the past in. In effect, if you follow its dictates, you will react to your brothers as though they were someone else, right? So you've got a memory of someone in the past and then someone new, you meet someone new and you're reacting to them as if they're someone else because it's from your past. And this will surely prevent you from perceiving them as they are, and that's underlined. And with the underlining in the new version, it says that when Helen wrote things down, Jesus would get her to underline them to give them emphasis, as they are, as the perfect Christ self. This is what we really want to be getting to. We want to be meeting our Christ brother. Now, the ego is going to use the past to bring into your mind these upsets. The ego will not let you see your brother as they are, but the thing is, we have a choice. We choose. We have to choose. But he says in the Course, the ego speaks first. Not always, though. After awakening, the Holy Spirit speaks first. The God's mind, you're in God's mind, so it's not always that way. But while you're on this path, it seems that the ego always speaks first. So it says, in effect, if you follow its dictates, you will react to your brothers as though they were someone else. And this will surely prevent you from perceiving them as they are. So he's telling us you can't see your brother clearly because you're using your past. And you will receive messages from them out of your own past because by making it real in the present, you are forbidding yourself to let it go. He's telling us to let it go, to let it go, let the past go. You thus deny yourself the message of release that every brother offers you now. So every brother you meet is offering you a really beautiful gift to release the past. The shadowy figures from the past are precisely what you must escape, for they are not real and have no hold on you unless you bring them with you. They carry the spots of pain in your mind, directing you to attack in the present in retaliation for a past that is no more. And this decision is one of future pain. For unless you learn that past pain is delusional, you are choosing a future of delusions and losing the endless opportunities which which you could find for release in the present. For the ego would preserve your nightmares and prevent you from waking, and understand that they are past. You will recognize a holy encounter if you are merely perceiving it as a meeting with your own past. Okay. I'll keep reading. For you are meeting no one, and the sharing of salvation, which makes the holy encounter, is excluded from your sight. I might just go back through that little bit. Will you recognize a holy encounter if you are merely perceiving it as a meeting with your own past? So what he's saying here is that every time you meet someone, tell yourself that you are meeting your past in them if you're upset. So he says, will you recognize a holy encounter if you are merely perceiving it as a meeting with your own past? So this is a really good teaching to say, when I meet someone, I'm always meeting my past. If I'm not perceiving them as reality, as innocent, as whole, as the perfect Christ self, I am meeting my past. My past is coming into the present in my mind, and it's telling me a story about this character. The Holy Spirit teaches the Holy Spirit teaches that you always meet yourself, and the encounter is holy because you are. Right. So the Holy Spirit teaches us that we meet ourselves. Now, what is ourselves? Our holy self, the holy self that we are, this beautiful Christ, innocent, guiltless, radiant, lovely shaft of light, this beautiful love of God, this holiness of holy. We're meeting our joyful, innocent, guiltless, playful, childlike self. That's all we're ever meeting. We're meeting this love of God. We're meeting this changeless, innocent, gorgeous spirit of love. He teaches that we're only ever meeting ourselves. So he's telling us you're meeting yourself, this holy self everywhere. And the encounter is holy because we are. Of course it's holy. We're just seeing the holiness of our brother. And as we give that holiness, we receive it. So the giving and receiving are the same. The ego teaches that you always encounter your past. And because your dreams were not holy, the future cannot be. And the present is without meaning. So what happens is when we meet our brother and we're allowing the ego to bring the past up, we're not going to experience him as he is. We're in a dream of our past. So we're going to put that dream, we're going to continue dreaming that dream of guilt and of shame and of blame and of resentment and of upset and of anger. We're going to continue that because the past is going to come rushing in to meet the brother that we're meeting. And he is our salvation. These brothers in this world are going to awaken us. They're going to be, in a way, used to awaken it, because how I see my brother is how I see myself. So that's because as I see him, I'm going to see my past. So what I did was I started to notice what past was coming up when I was in relationship with anything and anyone. Every single person I met was going to, and if I wasn't clearly seeing that person, I was seeing my past. It was my past. It's never about them. It's never, ever, ever, ever 100% about somebody doing something upset me. It's always my past that's colouring it. So this is a lovely analogy of having, like, say you've got green coloured glasses on, and you look at your brother and you say, hey, they're green. They need to do something to change because they're green. And, you know, you might start thinking of all different ways of the way they need to be changed so they don't look green or they don't appear green. But what happens is you're the one that has the green glasses on, and you're the one that you have forgotten that you are seeing through your past. You're seeing through your glasses of the past. You have got the green glasses on there, your past. You cannot see them. And as the past is removed and the glasses come down, you see your brother clearly. You are looking through your past to your brother. You're literally looking through your past to your brother. Every time you're not seeing him clearly, it's your past. So we want to, that's when we do our process. Holy Spirit, take this past. You might be unaware where it's coming from, or you might have a really big awareness. Oh yes, you know, my dad did that. It reminds me of my dad. Yes, he's doing just what my dad used to do. Yes, my dad treated me badly. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's a belief that others can treat us badly. We have to go within and find where we feel upset about something. And we need to, and that upset is coming from the belief that I have sinned, that I am stained and there's something wrong with me, a deep unworthiness within us, and we're projecting it out onto a character. So as we go within and shift that, as the Holy Spirit works to bring our innocence to our awareness, He's going to ask us to look past what the characters are saying and look past the past. So the Holy Spirit teaches that you always meet yourself and the encounter is holy because you are. The ego teaches that you always encounter your past, and because your dreams were not holy, the future cannot be, and the present is without meaning. And it's really beautiful, that last line, the present is without meaning. So the present is not going to show you the holiness. You're not going to experience this God's mind in the present when your mind's covered up with the past. It is evident that the Holy Spirit's perception of time is the exact opposite of the ego's. And the reason is equally clear, for they perceive the goal of time as diametrically opposed. So the Holy Spirit's going to use this time to awaken us, to shift our perception for the atonement. And the ego is going to use time to keep you in time, keep you in the past. The Holy Spirit interprets time's purpose as rendered the need for its unnecessary. Sorry, I'll read that again. The Holy Spirit interprets time's purpose as rendering the need for it unnecessary. In other words, the purpose of time is to render it purposeless. So there'll be no purpose for time because you're in timelessness. Your mind, you can seemingly be in time, but it won't have any purpose because you've awakened. So he's telling us that when we're in God's mind, there's nothing to get, or there's no purpose to time because you're already awakened to the love. And I think the only purpose then is to just be a teacher of God. Thus does he regard the function of time as temporary, serving only his teaching function. Oh, that's what I said. Teacher of God, there you go. So he says serving only his teaching function, which is temporary by definition, of course. We're coming into these each incarnation, each lifetime. You might come back, you might incarnate into this dream to teach You might choose to do that. His emphasis is therefore on the only aspect of time which can extend to the infinite, for now is the closest approximation of eternity which this world offers. So, and that now is sort of in italics. So the closest approximation of eternity is this now. So we can pierce through into this moment and we can see that there's something continuing. I want you to try to see that it's always now. So without any past or future thoughts, you can just look and say, oh, it's always now. I can be, even if I bring the past into the present and I think about it, and even if I'm getting upset by something from the past, I'm still in the present thinking about the past. The past is not here. It's only when I think about it that it's here. If I don't think about it, it's not here. And what's in this moment if there's no past? What's in this moment? I would be present with everything as it is. And what happens is when we start to get more and more present through meditation, through quietening our minds, we get into this present, this holy instant or the eternal now. It's an experience. We start to experience everything as it is. It says in the Course, it merely is, and it opens up. It's like a portal. This holy instant's a portal, and through that your mind's going to awaken to what's really here. Now I can tell you about what's really here, but it's an experience, and what's here is heaven. It's the holiness of holy. Your mind's going to expand into timelessness. Changelessness is going to experience something different. It's going to experience the absolute glory of this moment. It's going to expand into this most beautiful, amazing, glorious moment. You're going to see God in everything. You're going to just literally weep at how beautiful everything is. You're going to see light. Your mind's going to be just sparkling and beautifully clear. You're going to open to this love. This love's going to expand. It's just going to be, you're just going to have this moment expand and just say, oh my gosh, this is just what is. It's something that I didn't see before, and now I'm in it, and it's just beautiful. And you're just going to look around you and you're just going to say, oh, wow. It's just so beautiful and so peaceful and so joyful. Every single thing's going to be different. You're just going to see everything because your mind is cleared of the past. So there is something that's beyond the past. But we don't realise how much past is coming into our present moment, into the holy instant, into this beautiful moment. This is where the peace is. The peace isn't in the past and the future. The ego says if you do this now, you might have peace sometime 10, 20 years off. When you save up enough money, I'll be peaceful. But remember, the ego is seek and do not find. So it's going to get you to seek out future peace, future happiness. But remember the second part, do not find. It guarantees you will never, ever, ever find peace and happiness in the future, because there is no future. There's only now. So if you're 50 years old now, this is it. This is now. This is the kingdom of heaven right now. This is the peace right now, in this moment. It's now. And then when in 20 years' time on the timeline, you could be worried about what's going to happen when you're 90 and which retirement home you're going to be in and how you're going to be when you die and what's going to happen. I recently had someone say to me that they worried dreadfully about their next lifetime, what was going to happen in their next lifetime. So every moment of this beautiful, gorgeous present moment is taken up with worrying about what's going to happen in the next lifetime. You see how vicious the ego is. You see how it wants to drag you into the past and the future. Okay, so I've got 2 more minutes. The Holy Spirit interprets time's purpose as rendering the need for it unnecessary. Thus does he regard the function of time as temporary, serving only his teaching function. So time is temporary, it's going to serve his teaching function. His emphasis is there on the only aspect of time which can extend to the infinite, now, this moment. And it is in the reality of now, without past or future, that the beginning of the appreciation of eternity lies. For only now is here, and only it, this now is here, and only it presents the opportunity for the holy encounters in which salvation can be found. Salvation is enlightenment, is the peace of God. And remember, he's saying it's the only time that it can be found. So I'll just say that again. For only now is here. So this is Jesus saying only now is here. And only it, the now, presents the the opportunity for holy encounters in which salvation can be found. There's more to read on that. If you'd like to go to that, keep reading it. It's such a beautiful section. So once again, I'd just like to reiterate to use time to get to timelessness. So ask the Holy Spirit, pray for the Holy Spirit to shift your mind, give you the experience of what the now is. So thank you for listening in. It's time for me to go. So I'm going to bless you. I love you. I bless you. And I honour you. And thank you for joining me. And have a beautiful week. See you next week. Bye-bye.